On a quiet, snowy evening in January 1933, the small village of Banu in Belgium lay peacefully asleep under a soft blanket of snow. Houses were nestled close together, their windows glowing gently with candlelight. The only sound came from the soft whisper of wind through the bare branches of trees. In one simple house lived an 11-year-old girl named Marian. Her family was modest, accustomed to hardship, living day by day with quiet strength. Marian's father had grown distant from religion, feeling too burdened by life's struggles to attend church or pray. But for Marian, faith was a quiet friend, one she kept close in secret, like the worn rosary hidden beneath her pillow. On this particular night, Marian stood by the kitchen window, breathing softly onto the cold glass as she looked anxiously into the darkness, waiting for her brother Julian to come home. The village was peaceful, bathed in gentle moonlight. Suddenly, Marian's heart skipped a beat. Out in the snowy garden stood a figure unlike anything she had ever seen. A beautiful lady appeared, glowing softly with gentle light. She stood barefoot, floating slightly above the snow, a golden rose resting gently between her toes. Her gown was pure white, tied with a delicate blue sash, and in her gentle hands she held rosary beads. Marian stared in awe as the lady raised her hand and motioned gently for her to come closer. Confused and amazed, Marian quickly moved the kitchen lamp, thinking the image might be a reflection or trick of the light. Yet when she returned, the lady was still there, clear and bright. "Mother!" Marian called urgently, her voice trembling with excitement. Her mother looked outside skeptically, dismissing it as her daughter's imagination. She firmly locked the door, telling Marian to stop being foolish. Yet the vision lingered in Marian's mind. She felt a strange pull, something deep and powerful calling her. When Julian finally returned home, Marian excitedly shared what she had seen, but he only laughed and shook his head. They didn't realize their lives were about to change forever. 3 nights later, drawn by an irresistible force, Marian suddenly ran out of the house into the cold night, her startled father quickly following. He watched in amazement as she fell to her knees, eyes fixed on something invisible to him. Her father stood frozen, deeply touched by the sincerity and innocence on his daughter's face. "Follow me," the lady softly whispered, gentle yet firm. Marian obeyed, guided to a hidden spring shimmering beneath the moonlight. Kneeling once more, she placed her hands in the freezing water. Instantly, warmth spread through her, carrying a comforting promise the spring would offer healing and relief to the sick of all nations. Although Marian's father saw nothing, he felt profoundly moved. His heart, hardened by years of doubt, began to soften. He felt called back to the church he had long abandoned, forever changed by witnessing his daughter's quiet encounter. Soon, news of Marian's experience spread quietly through the village, sparking curiosity and disbelief. Neighbors whispered in streets, and after Sunday Mass, some believing, others skeptical. Yet everyone felt drawn into the gentle mystery unfolding around them. A week later, with her parents and neighbors watching closely, Marian once again felt called into the garden. As she stepped outside, warmth surrounded her, protecting her from the bitter cold. The lady appeared again, radiant and comforting. Her voice softly and tenderly reached Marian's heart. "I am the Virgin of the poor. This spring is reserved for all nations to comfort the sick." Marian listened, her young heart absorbing every word with quiet reverence. Though those watching saw only a girl kneeling in the snow, eyes wide with wonder, they could feel the profound gravity of the moment. When the apparition gently faded away, Marian remained motionless, her face glowing with a serenity beyond her years. Over the following weeks, the lady appeared repeatedly, always bringing messages of comfort, humility, and universal compassion. She guided Marian to the spring again, emphasizing its healing purpose, reinforcing her identity as the Virgin of the poor, a divine mother reaching out to those in need, the marginalized, and the suffering. Each encounter deepened Marian's sense of purpose and strengthened the quiet transformation happening within her family and village. Her mother, initially skeptical, found herself contemplating her daughter's experiences with growing openness, while Julian, her brother, began to witness the genuine change in their father and reconsidered his own dismissive stance. On the evening of March 2nd, 1933, the lady appeared to Marian one final time. The air was filled with a tender solemnity as Marian knelt once more, her heart heavy with a quiet sadness at the realization of this final farewell. The lady offered one last gentle reassurance, her words echoing softly in Mariette's soul, promising that she would always remain near, watching over her and all who sought solace and healing from the sacred spring. As the gentle light faded, Mariette remained kneeling in quiet reflection, tears streaming softly down her cheeks. Though this marked the end of the apparitions, the echoes of these profound encounters would continue to shape the lives of Mariette, her family, and countless others who would journey to Banu seeking comfort and healing. In the years that followed, the village embraced its new identity as a sanctuary, a beacon of hope known to the world as the Shrine of Our Lady of Banu, where pilgrims from far and wide gathered in quiet reverence, forever touched by the divine compassion revealed through a young girl's simple faith and courage. In the days following Mariette's second encounter, a quiet yet powerful change took root within the Bacot household. Her father, once distant and indifferent to faith, found himself inexplicably drawn back to the church he had abandoned years before. Mariette's sincerity and unwavering conviction stirred something deep within him, awakening long-forgotten prayers and memories from his youth. Word of Mariette's experiences slowly began to ripple through the small village, sparking curiosity and skepticism in equal measure. Friends and neighbors debated in hushed tones at street corners and whispered exchanges after Sunday Mass. Some were intrigued, others openly doubted, but all were drawn into the mystery unfolding in their quiet village. A week later, under the watchful eyes of her parents and neighbors, Mariette once again felt the irresistible pull toward the garden. As she stepped outside, the familiar warmth enveloped her, shielding her from the bitter cold. The lady appeared again, radiant as ever, her gentle presence filling the night with profound peace. Her voice was tender and reassuring as she spoke directly to Mariette's heart. "I am the Virgin of the poor. This spring is reserved for all nations, for the relief of the sick." Mariette listened, her young heart absorbing every word with quiet reverence. Though those watching saw only a girl kneeling in the snow, eyes wide with wonder, they could feel the profound gravity of the moment. When the apparition gently faded away, Mariette remained motionless, her face glowing with a serenity beyond her years. Over the following weeks, the lady appeared repeatedly, always bringing messages of comfort, humility, and universal compassion. She guided Mariette to the spring again, emphasizing its healing purpose, reinforcing her identity as the Virgin of the poor, a divine mother reaching out to those in need, the marginalized, and the suffering. Each encounter deepened Mariette's sense of purpose and strengthened the quiet transformation happening within her family and village. Her mother, initially skeptical, found herself contemplating her daughter's experiences with growing openness, while Julian, her brother, began to witness the genuine change in their father and reconsidered his own dismissive stance. On the evening of March 2nd, 1933, the lady appeared to Mariette one final time. The air was filled with a tender solemnity as Mariette knelt once more, her heart heavy with a quiet sadness at the realization of this final farewell. The lady offered one last gentle reassurance, her words echoing softly in Mariette's soul, promising that she would always remain near, watching over her and all who sought solace and healing from the sacred spring. As the gentle light faded, Mariette remained kneeling in quiet reflection, tears streaming softly down her cheeks. Though this marked the end of the apparitions, the echoes of these profound encounters would continue to shape the lives of Mariette, her family, and countless others who would journey to Banu seeking comfort and healing. In the years that followed, the village embraced its new identity as a sanctuary, a beacon of hope known to the world as the Shrine of Our Lady of Banu, where pilgrims from far and wide gathered in quiet reverence, forever touched by the divine compassion revealed through a young girl's simple faith and courage. Mariette grew into a humble, soft-spoken woman whose gentle presence mirrored the serenity of her childhood visions. Despite her global recognition as the girl who saw the Virgin of the poor, she never once used her story to seek attention, fame, or influence. To the world, she had become something of a legend, but to herself, she remained simply Mariette, the messenger. Visitors from across the world came to Banu in hopes of seeing her, speaking with her, asking her what it was like to look into the eyes of the Mother of God. But Mariette politely declined most invitations for interviews and public appearances. She would smile kindly and say, "The message is what matters, not the messenger." This quiet refusal to center herself allowed the purity of the Virgin's message to shine more brightly. The Virgin came, she said, not to glorify one person, but to comfort the poor, the sick, the forgotten, to remind the world of heaven's nearness. Marian lived her life in the same village where the apparitions had occurred. She married, raised a family, and remained devoted to a private life of prayer and service. Neighbors recalled her as kind, unassuming, and always ready to help, though she rarely spoke of what had happened to her in 1933. She preferred to live her faith through action rather than words. Her life was not a shrine to the past, but a quiet offering of the present. As the years rolled on, the modest chapel built near the spring grew into a beautiful place of pilgrimage. What had once been a simple structure was now surrounded by gardens, prayer paths, and chapels filled with flickering candles. Yet, despite its growth, the site retained its humility. Pilgrims walked slowly through the grounds, praying silently, dipping their hands into the spring that had once flowed beneath the barefoot feet of the Virgin. And the stories began to spread. There were tales of the blind seeing, of tumors disappearing, of depression lifting like fog after a storm. But even more powerful were the unseen miracles that reconciled families, the renewed hope in hearts that had long since given up, the faith restored in those who had wandered far from God. People didn't just come to Banu to be healed, they came to be seen, to be reminded that their suffering mattered, that heaven still watched, still cared. Generations of pilgrims passed through those gates. Some came in wheelchairs. Others arrived barefoot as an act of devotion. Many wept at the spring. All left changed in some way. It wasn't always dramatic, but something happened in the silence, in the stillness, in the memory of what had once taken place between a young girl and the Mother of God. Marian's family, too, remained deeply shaped by those events. Her father, once hardened and far from faith, became a new man after witnessing his daughter's transformation. His return to God wasn't temporary, it was wholehearted. He spent the rest of his life quietly serving the church, attending daily mass, and helping others in need. People who had known him before the apparitions often spoke of his conversion as one of the miracles of Banu. Julian, once the brother who mocked and laughed, grew into a man of respect and faith. Watching the change in his family, especially his father, awakened something deep in him. He never claimed to understand everything that happened, but he no longer doubted that it had been real. He took on the role of steward to the grounds of the shrine, quietly ensuring that everything remained clean, beautiful, and welcoming for the pilgrims. In time, the church gave formal recognition to the apparitions. Bishops and priests visited the site. The message of the Virgin of the Poor was shared in homilies and religious publications. Devotion to Our Lady of Banu spread across continents, with chapels and statues appearing as far away as Africa, Asia, and the Americas. Yet no matter how far the devotion traveled, it always traced its roots back to a snowy night in a forgotten Belgian village, and to the simple faith of a young girl who said yes to something she couldn't fully understand. Each year, on the anniversary of the first apparition, thousands gather at Banu. The streets fill with soft singing, candlelight, and prayer. At night, processions weave through the grounds, the glow of hundreds of candles reflecting in the water of the spring. There's a sacred hush in the air, a deep stillness that feels like the very breath of heaven. In the final years of her life, Marian remained consistent. Even as her name appeared in newspapers and books, she declined attention. She spent her final decades as she had lived her entire life, prayerfully, humbly, and in service to others. When asked to describe her role in it all, she replied simply, "I was the postman. I delivered the message. Now it belongs to you." When she passed away in 2011 at the age of 90, the world mourned quietly. Her funeral was simple, just as she had wished. No grand speeches, no celebrity, but across the globe, candles were lit in her memory. Masses were offered. Pilgrims who had once touched the water of Banu knelt in prayer and gave thanks for the life of the girl who had shown them a path back to God. Marian was buried not as a visionary or public figure, but as a beloved daughter, mother, wife, and woman of God. And yet, her story lives on not just in plaques or books, but in the lives of those who found healing at the spring, who found faith through her quiet witness, who remembered the gentle call of the Virgin that echoes still. "I come to relieve suffering. I come for the poor. I am the Virgin of the poor." Today, Banu remains a place of refuge in a troubled world. Pilgrims still arrive with questions and wounds. And though Marian is no longer there in person, her presence is felt in every footstep along the shrine's paths, in every whispered prayer, in every candle lit with trembling hands. She didn't seek to become a saint or a symbol. She simply opened her heart, and in doing so, made space for heaven to enter the world. That, perhaps, is her greatest legacy. The message remains, and so does the spring, and the Virgin is still near.